Last May, I made a video exposing how easily a child can get groomed on Quora. I did this by going undercover as a 13-year-old boy. I didn't post the footage I had from that experience because I was really depressed and unmotivated at the time, so I'll share some screenshots that remain and talk about them. So this is somebody named Danny W. Riley, and he appears to be responding to teens in a teen chat. So the first one down at the bottom appears to be a teenager introducing herself, and Danny W. Riley asks this child if she has Instagram and if she can add this stranger who's clearly an older man. In this second post, he responded to somebody asking a question about puberty and immediately was like, "Do you have Instagram? Add me, I'm this account." And then the third one is, he appears to have quoted an item that was deleted. I'm assuming it was by a kid, maybe even a nude photo or a very, very underage child, and asked to add them on Instagram. So Draken.PA is responding to what are in bold sexual questions from supposedly 12, 14-year-old kids, and their questions revolving around fellatio and other sexual activities, and he's offering in-depth responses to these questions asked by children. In this question, somebody claiming to be 12 is asking what he should do because his friend wants to do oral stuff with him, and Draken.PA responds that he should do what is comfortable, but also keep in mind the amount of courage it took for your friend to admit his desire. He must trust you a lot. If he's a true friend, you'll respect that and still be there for him. So again, encouraging this kid to remain in an uncomfortable sexual situation for the sake of his friend's feelings. And here's a handful of the people following me at the time. So what is Quora and how does it work? Fortunately, this website tells us how. I was looking for old images of what the Quora website used to look like, and for some reason they excluded it from the Wayback Machine, so I can't actually show you what old images of the website used to look like. Quora was founded in 2009, and essentially it was created for users to ask questions and receive answers upon questions. And over time, they added spaces, and now a new artificial intelligence chat feature called Poe. One such addition to Quora over the years has been teen spaces, and honestly, I'm going to assume that they became popular around 2020, maybe a little earlier, but I do think they boomed in 2020 due to the pandemic. This is a pretty big club right here, the teen club. There are dozens more, but this is a pretty big one considering it has 9,500 followers and close to 300 contributors, basically people who can post in this group. I believe Quora enables the digital sex trafficking going on with the children online. I was introduced to teen spaces on Quora from an account I had in 2022. I was making a bunch of random accounts for different websites. Pretty consistently, I've put my age as being born in 1985, so when I'm getting emails advertising teen spaces, it's not because I'm a teen. Quora is sending me emails inviting me to join teen spaces, despite the fact that there's no evidence it has that I'm a teenager. So I can basically assume that Quora is sending emails to every one of its users, advertising teen communities for them to join. Now, again, pulling statistics out of my butt here, if you're somebody, frankly, dumb enough or terminally online enough to make an account for Quora with a personal email account, we can probably assume that you're either a radical leftist, a radical conspiracy theory right-winger, a child, or a predator. So naturally, Quora is inviting predators and children alike to join teen spaces, because why would people on the left and why would people on the right want to join random apolitical teen communities? They'd rather get into arguments in political communities. Here is an example of a 13-year-old child fishing for compliments in a community filled with predators. So I found this man in the comment sections of some child's posts, and he's dumb enough to include probably his actual name, his real face, and he is posting about his fantasies about doing things with his cousins. He's just horny posting publicly on his account that's viewable by children because he is in children's comment sections. This is a child talking about receiving a weird photo request from either a predator or somebody who doesn't want to run into predators. Often they'll ask you to verify that you are who you say you are by telling you how to pose in the photo that they're asking you to send them. And again, it's just a young child innocently and naively interacting with paddies on Quora and sharing his face. This child looks like he's between 9 and 11 years old, and he has 96 upvotes. And look at his comments. Somebody's asking for the color of his underwear, and a bunch of obviously grown men leaving him compliments and flirting with him. Let me describe what's going on here. So this account called Sophia Zoe01 is likely a sex bot or a sex scam. So she's responding to what is clearly a horny person, likely an adult, offering to chat with them. So this person, or this account, is choosing to go after horny paddies. Now, I've talked to a number of paddies on Quora, and they've mentioned that people try to sell them child exploitation material, and this is likely a user claiming to do that, offering to sell this person child exploitation material. And this account just wants to make money, and what these paddies often tell me is that they respond, why should I pay for something that I can easily get from these kids for free? It's just really sick and disgusting, but that's probably what's going on here. A space for young girls looking for older guys, probably grown men, and Quora is just leaving it up publicly. Here are some thirsty messages from somebody dumb enough to use his full name and his face, and another person probably using his real name and a picture of his torso. And as you can see in the top comment, probably another sex scam is going on in the replies. I made my account close to midnight and posted maybe 2 or 3 photos of myself that I'm not going to show here because they're still up and I don't want people finding that account. But here are the messages that I received the very next day. These are likely kids. I don't have reason to suspect that they aren't, but again, this is how much attention I'm getting less than 24 hours after posting. Now, before we get into the paddies, let's take a look at some of the engagement I got under my photos. This is a grown man who is complimenting me and posting his selfie in my comment section. And this is how he advertises himself. He is reposting trans porn, and it literally has his number there and is advertising himself as somebody who wants some sexual fun online. These are some comments under a post of me working out. This is a 19-year-old man who said I was hot, and this is a grown man who commented under a number of my posts and is literally reposting genitalia photos. This is one of those sex bot scams specifically targeting children. This is the account of a minor who says that he trades nudes on Discord. I just saved this because the extent of kids worldwide who gets groomed on Quora is disturbing. This guy actively commented under a bunch of my posts. Here he's answering questions related to sexual stuff and children. He even asked a question, are any virgins interested in losing it to someone older? Here's an example of probably a child offering to sell child sexual assault material on a mega link. After one day of having my account, my DMs have tripled in number. A day after making my account, this 38-year-old man who uses his full name and a photo of his actual face as his profile picture started following me. So bro just slides into my DMs telling me every single detail about him that the police would love to hear should he break the law, which he will in a few seconds. And this man is really pushy. He demands responses within seconds, even though the notification systems on Quora do not let you know someone has messaged you until 7 minutes after they do. He can't even form coherent sentences, and he's a 38-year-old man flirting with a 13-year-old, so I just mess around with him. I make it very clear that I'm 13, and he says he does not mind. He asks me if I'll be his boyfriend, and I say, sure, if you lose weight. And here's him asking me how good I am at fellatio. So I saw another YouTuber do this where they say, hey, sorry, I lied, I'm actually not 13, I'm 11, and I was planning on doing that, but he blocked me because I didn't respond fast enough. And then my friend and I found his Twitter account where he horny posts all the time. He responds to old men, to young girls, asking them to hit him up. So honestly, this guy seems to be maybe intellectually disabled. This is not at all an excuse for him to flirt with a 13-year-old and try to get a 13-year-old to date him, but it just kind of, like, this is one of the tamest we're going to be looking at. They only get worse from here. This entire interaction lasted under 30 minutes. I saved all evidence and sent it to his local police. The other paddies will not be so quick. This 36-year-old man slid into my DMs thanking me for following him, and as you can see on his profile, he is active in a space for, exposing yourself. So we start by chatting about ourselves personally, and apparently he's a stagehand and a DJ. Then he asks if he can ask me some questions, and we talk a bit about video games and favorite colors, and it just feels very weird considering he's a grown man chatting with what he believes to be a 13-year-old boy. He asks if I want to play Truth or Dare, and I kind of mess with him by asking him a question that my ex, who is the same age as this guy, asked me when I talked about playing Truth or Dare, like, are you in middle school? That's such a middle school game to play. His first question is if I've seen any friends naked, and my response is, of course, many times, because, you know, little boys go swimming together, and there are locker rooms, and they change, and you're friends, and when you're little, boundaries don't matter as much. I ask him to show me a picture of what he looks like, and he then tells me to take my shirt off. I protest like a kid might, and then he tells me to pull my pants down instead, so I do that! Blah blah blah, he asks for a dare, I'm bored, I say send your feet. He does. He asks me to send him an armpit photo, which I do, but so many of these paddies on the site have armpit fetishes, piss kinks, poop kinks, belching kinks. It's nasty. Let's take a break to take a look at some of the people he follows. So, a number of mentions of teenage years, teenagers in their bios, people who are horny, 10 plus years, masturbating, an eggplant emoji, mentions of male genitalia. Some of the profile pictures actually have male genitalia in them, which I'm not showing you for obvious reasons. A bunch of children, or people pretending to be children, boy. Eventually, I got bored and asked him what I should ask him as a dare, and he said, do you want to see my male genitalia? And I said, okay. And he sent it to me, therefore committing a federal crime of sending nudes to what he believes to be a minor. Because Quora has terrible loading, I just scrolled through Quora from my computer and videoed it going through our entire conversation, which lasted 2 or 3 hours, most of it being Truth or Dare. It started getting really boring because I tried not to ask any sexual questions, so that he would be the one initiating all the sexual questions. This is a caveat of doing vigilante work. You cannot be the one to initiate anything. He has to initiate anything sexual, anything illegal, anything inappropriate. So eventually I ran out of questions, and I asked him what kind of questions I should ask him, and he gave me more sexual information about himself. So there are his feet that he sent me, and there's a picture of my hair disheveled at his request to prove I'm real. He sent me a full body photo. Thank God he's wearing clothes. There's his lovely shirtless photo. There's my armpit, and then I run out of questions to ask him, so he offers to send me a photo of down there, and it is horrible, and I hate looking at that again, so I'm definitely censoring that. The conversation ended after he asked me to show him mine. Here's his account. He's asked randomly for people to send bulge photos. If you can look at everything he's posted and answered and questioned, they're all sexual and really inappropriate, and revolve around phalluses. This entire video I recorded for my local police, and I went to a different link, and I showed this police officer this man's Twitter account because I was able to find his other social media. Something I forgot to mention is that during Truth or Dare, I asked him for his last name, and he was like, oh, are you gonna try to find me? And I lied, no, but I did, and he told me his actual last name, and it's uncommon enough where I was easily able to find his first and last name and where he lived in the area in the United States that he lived in. I reported him to his local police. I don't think this guy interacted with me, but here's a man pretending to be a little boy, I think, and he's asking for videos of pooping and peeing in underwear. A lost boy is this horrible groomed-to-groomer predator in the teen chat area who writes this incredibly long manifesto talking about why he's justifying adults being attracted to children, why there's nothing wrong with pedos and that they're just stigmatized, and it's like being autistic or gay or liking Brussels sprouts. I estimate he's in his late teens, an adult but still a teenager. I point out the hypocrisy in him claiming not to be a predator when he is a self-proclaimed pedo in a teen community. He slides into my DMs trying to defend himself, but I'm not having it. This creep named Someone22 tried to catfish me with photos of a random 14-year-old boy. I recognized him because he is very active in posting, so I let him know that somebody was catfishing as him. Oh, and then look what this catfish asked me to do, and here was my response. So now we're going a little bit out of order, but the Monday I woke up from the Sunday I made my account, this man slid into my DMs, let me know he was 28, and despite the fact that he found me in a teen chat community, he is not a creep or a pedo, and he's actually really nice and just wants to be friends. And completely unprompted, he sent me a photo of what he and his 7-year-old son look like. Now, I thought he looked familiar, and I dug through my photo album and I found out that I talked to him when I pretended to be a different child last year. I didn't record much of my conversation with him on Quora because we very quickly moved to Twitter. I made an entirely new Twitter account for the boy I was pretending to be. For the next few days, as I caught the first guy and as I caught the second guy, I continued to chat with this man, but I found him pretty dull and he wasn't that flirtatious. I figured he was just a maladjusted older man with inappropriate boundaries. After a few days, he asked my sexuality and then let me know that he was attracted to guys too. I tried to stress my age multiple times because there are so many excuses for these guys of, oh, I didn't actually know his age. I told you multiple times I'm 13. We talked a little bit about weight loss for him. This will be important in a second. Some conversations I didn't record were me relapsing and self-harming and trauma dumping to him about it because I would rather trauma dump to criminals than burden my own friends with my issues, and he got really worried and concerned about me, but the benefit was that he became more vulnerable around me because he believed now I was more emotionally vulnerable myself and would become more attached to him. He also told me about a dildo he had that he felt I needed to know about. So after talking about his weight insecurity, he offered to send me a photo, and I said, okay, and he was like, are you sure I'm naked in them? But he sent it anyways. Here comes the overdue regret, because of our age difference, not the fact that I'm a young minor. Then the excuse of, well, we're both guys, but he literally told me he was attracted to guys. Again, going on about how this was like his first time sending a nude to a minor. Then he quite literally admits to sending nudes to children as young as 15 before. I mean, he was already comfortable enough to show nudes to me. I decided to ask if he was into young teens, and he said, not really. But he does go on to talk about how cool he thinks teenagers are. And oh joy, he has a daughter, someone save her. Interrupting this conversation, somebody from Quora wanted to trade nudes. I blocked and reported him, there's little I can do. This is him working up to asking me if I ever send nudes, even though our first conversation was him promising that he would never ask me to send him nudes, if you remember. So despite being almost 30, he kept talking about how I was a little brother to him, but now he's saying that if I wasn't a little brother to him and if he were my age, he would date me. Going on and on about how much he likes me, but it's not a crush, I promise. Of course, I go out of my way to talk about how nobody ever compliments me, and my parents are so strict and unloving because these are the kids they look for. Vulnerable, lonely, isolated kids. All these paddies wish they were my dad. I forgot to take a screenshot, but he sent me his phone number and asked if we could call later. I had dinner with my parents, and I remember it was pizza. And then afterwards, I went to my room and took the call. So I don't want anybody copying what I'm doing, but I just want you to know for your own safety, do not give your phone number to a predator or anybody online. I used a fake number. How are you doing?
Good, you?
I'm good. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I hadn't really thought of it.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought I should have warned you. My voice is still kind of high.
No, you're good, bro.
Okay, you too.
Yes, you got a cool voice, really.
Oh, thank you. I like yours as well. But I don't really know what to talk about.
No, you're good. I've got to remember my age and your age, so.
Yeah. I mean, like, you did already send me stuff.
Yeah. I was kind of nervous about that, to be honest with you.
But if you were nervous about it, why'd you send it?
Well, it showed on my fat, okay?
I mean, like, I've posted pictures to show, like, my abs and stuff, which was also probably kind of stupid, and, like, it's cut off above the crotch level.
Well, yeah.
So after I called him, I immediately contacted his local Alabama police, and they took a report from me and then asked if I would get in contact with them when their station opened the next morning. So I woke up at 6 a.m. the next morning because I'm a few hours behind Alabama, and the officer I talked to, or the chief, had no idea who I was, had not received a report, and had no idea what officer I was talking about. So I had to get in contact with another officer, and I had to restate the entire report, and he was in the middle of court, so he promised to get back to me that evening, but to this day, he and the local Alabama police still have not gotten back to me. The following day, this predator continued to send me selfies in a way to seduce me, maybe? This is a recording of our entire Twitter conversation. I told him that I knew his old account on Quora, and I managed to save it by saying that I'd never had talked to him before, and he dropped the conversation. I sent him an audio of me playing the guitar, but not my actual voice, because I was a bit more worried about this man finding my actual online persona than I was about other online predators finding my persona. We just talked about work and school. It was really boring, and then he sent me a picture of his cars. They were also really boring. Oh, I sent him some songs I was listening to. He sent me a selfie. I sent him a selfie. Commenting on my beautiful eyes. His eyes. We talked about our ethnic backgrounds. Talking about his son. Boring. Oh, here I talk about self-harm, and he tells me he'll always be there for me, tries to talk me out of it, yada yada yada. Here's a picture of his car. I don't know what that is. A drawing that his son made. Oh, and then he starts asking about my sexuality, and then he talks about his dildo. An ASMR video I sent him. He sent me a photo of his child shirtless. Talking about drinking a bit. I sent him a picture of my snake, and then he wanted to make a dick joke, but he didn't. What a good boy. I don't know what we're talking about. Oh yeah, I'm talking about my snake. I gave her a different name, and I called him a guy. And I'm talking about hanging out with his family. Talking about his height. And now we're talking about our weight, and he sent me a nude. He admits he sent a nude to a 15-year-old. I ask him if he's into teenagers, and he says no, but that he'd be willing to date people as young as 20. Here he asks if I've ever sent anything, NSFW. He goes on and on about how sweet and dateable and desirable I am. And then he's like, I hope I didn't make you tear up. He talks about his job, and then he offers me his phone number, which I'm gonna be blurring out. And then he talks about how much he loves me, and he just gets more and more attached as the days progress. He tries to send me a seducing selfie, then he sends me a photo of his son. Then I talk about my self-harm. Then he talks about being horny, and he says that in time he'll be more comfortable talking about sexual things with me, but that he feels very awkward now, and I tell him, you're the one who brought it up. When the police didn't get back to me, I just blocked him. Peter Yanes was a predator who followed me, and this is an answer he sent to another boy telling him something he should do. This predator slid into my DMs announcing his age and his sexuality. He actually followed me a year ago with a different account, but under the exact same name, and he was still creeping on kids then. I try to put on the initial reservation a young kid might have with such an old man talking to him privately. Again, reminding this man that I am a 13-year-old kid. I also ask him why he's talking to me, and he spent a long time coming up with his response, but his response was that he was a teacher for 6th graders. So that's horrifying. We talk about working out, and he tells me he's glad I accepted him as a friend. In Golly G, he doesn't know why, but I just seem like such a down-to-earth person with a great personality, and he likes my ab pic, and he likes the photo of me with eyeliner. He also says I look like a little stud. This was our entire Quora conversation because we very quickly moved to Instagram, and then eventually to private phone numbers. Pay close attention to these messages because when we started talking using our voices, he made it very clear that he wasn't romantically interested in me or any of the little boys because there are a number of little boys that he's talking to. But again, pay close attention to how he's talking to me. He's very frequently talking about how attractive my appearance is. frequently moving the conversation towards sex or sexual orientation, or what I'm interested in romantically or sexually. He compliments me a lot, tries to make me feel special, as a friend. This is how he grooms me, gets me comfortable with him, to see him as my 62-year-old male bisexual friend when he has darker intents. Also, remember, this is a 62-year-old man addressing me in a very childish way. Again, trying to present himself as a trustworthy friend to a 13-year-old boy online. Something I didn't mention, but in our messages, I told him that I'm visiting Canada at the end of summer, and he said he lived in Kansas. And we tentatively talked about meeting up on my way to Canada. I don't think I need to communicate with you how scary it is that through Quora alone, an adult can make plans to meet up with a child in an inappropriate way. We talked to each other for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I wanted to see his face and I wanted access to all his social media accounts so that I could report them to the police once he started sending or sharing illegal content, which he had not at this point. Here I tease him for not knowing texting slang because he's 62. Quick tangent, but a couple years ago when I was baiting predators on Pinterest, I encountered this 60-year-old man named Bob Howarth, whom I taught that LOL is usually abbreviated to lowercase lol instead of capital LOL, and it's funny because Bob Howarth would have been the same age as this predator who has a very similar name. Here's an unprompted phallic joke he made. This is the entirety of our text conversation on Instagram. At some point I ask for a photo, he sends it, and I take a screenshot. Again, we talk about meeting up at his house before I go to Canada. Upon waking up, he says, "Good morning, handsome." Very platonic of him. At this point during the month, I was sick, which was great because it sounded like my voice was dropping, which fit my character. We talk a bit about making tomato soup, which is, yes, one of the only foods I can make and is one of my safe foods. Unprompted, he starts asking me questions about how often I self-pleasure. Then he brings up that he chats a lot with a 14-year-old in Norway.
So the 62-year-old man I've been talking to told me that he's been chatting with a 14-year-old Norwegian boy, and then he amended to, actually, I think he's 15 years old. And he told me to go chat with him because he has a great body, this 14, 15-year-old boy. And he was like, and he's not afraid to show off his body. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, I've never asked him for nudes. He just posts them. And I was like, what? So I go to his page, and there are a lot of questions you can ask on Quora. And a lot of the questions are like, can I see what a teen boy butt looks like? Can I see what a teen boy, like, questions like that. And he had responded to them with photos. And they were kind of weird because they appeared to all be taken from the same house. So I was checking out these photos to see if they were from, well, an actual kid or an adult, or if they were photos of random different kids that one account was using. And even if they were, well, so most of them had the same blanket in them, so it showed that all the photos had come from one individual. But there was this one weird photo that was like, can I see what your male stuff looks like from a shower or while taking a shower? And it was this overhead, very professional looking photo of this brown-haired boy who was fully nude. He looked, I don't know, 15 or 16 or something. And that is a very professional looking photo. So some of these photos were suspicious. They were definitely not the photos that a 15-year-old boy would be taking. Definitely not a 15-year-old boy with experience. And some of these photos had printed on them Piper Clay. So that's the name of the user's account, Piper Clay. They're 2 words. And I'm guessing the word Piper and Clay were put there so that people couldn't screenshot them and reuse them as their own photos. But again, it's all suspiciously professional for just a teenage boy, and to me, I worry that it's a bit of some kind of trafficking ring is going on. Like, maybe an adult's taking photos of this kid, maybe this kid has a lot of experience. It's kind of suspicious that a little kid has so much experience, that this kid might have been routinely groomed or paid over time by these adults. Is this even a kid? I don't even know, but it's a very suspicious looking page. I reported all the photos that I could. So yeah, again, like, Quora is not taking this down. What's wrong with you, Quora? Oh, here's another thing that Quora is doing to enable paddies. If you are a child on Quora, you can get recommended posts to answer. So Quora is first and foremost an answer questions site. And if you are a child, you will be given questions to answer, or like in your feed, questions to answer will be recommended to you. And if you are a teen boy, you will get recommended questions like, can I see teen boy abs? What does a teen boy do? Blah, 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 blah. How many times a day does a teen boy jerk off? Etc. As a child, you will be given those questions to answer. Quora's algorithm feeds you these questions. Quora's algorithm allows grown men to ask questions like, can I see what a child's private parts look like in a shower? Why is Quora not taking this down?
Obviously, I'm not going to message this 15-year-old kid, but this predator is adamant and makes it clear that he knows this kid posts illegal material in his profile and is okay chatting with this underage boy. At some point, I made the mistake of introducing him to voice messages. His voice is, it's horrifying. I hate it. Oh, and then bro voluntarily gives me his phone number. We talk a little bit about his job, which is putting up inflatables for middle schools and elementary schools. He talks about some children my age that he works with. Pay attention because this will be relevant later. We banter for a little bit, and then we talk about being right-handed or left-handed, and he makes this stunning comment right here, again, making the conversation sexual every time. We talk a little bit about gender expression and how I like to put on nail polish, but my Baptist family won't let me because it's not for boys. This predator is a Catholic who attends Mass. Out of nowhere, he brings up the fact that Baptists don't like partner dancing and then makes a big deal about how he and I couldn't dance, implying that we're a couple, romantically involved. This concludes our Instagram messages because then we have a couple of voice calls that I will share in a moment. When I start ignoring him, he starts responding to old messages.
Hi.
What are we doing? Put clothes on?
Okay.
Huh?
Wait. What did you say?
So what were you doing? Putting clothes on?
No, I was, moving to a different room.
Well, it's nice to put a voice with a message.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you said you're only 4'11"?
Yeah.
Are you? Well, you're only, 13 years old?
Yeah.
So your friend you had before your boyfriend? You guys are pretty young.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't do any fooling around or anything, did you?
What do you mean?
Oh, you don't want to tell me, huh?
Wait, you mean like what kind of stuff we did together, like sexually?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really do that much. Yeah, we didn't, like...
I mean, when you're with guys, when you're with people your own sex, and you like each other, you know, your hormones sometimes jump around.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we didn't really do that much together, just kissing and stuff.
Yeah, I messaged with a boy in Montana. In fact, he just turned 13 in January.
Oh, okay.
And he's always talking about him as he's got a group of friends, like 8 or 10 friends, who just sort of hang around and go biking and play soccer and all that kind of stuff. And he talks about him as, I guess he's got his BF. Is that best friend or just boyfriend or?
Most people I know who use BF use it as boyfriend, but it depends. Like, most people I know would use BF for boyfriend and BSF for best friend.
But then he says him and his boyfriend sometimes would just get together and sort of do sexual stuff with each other. If I could be explicit with you, they would rub each other and just sort of touch each other and excuse me, came close to I guess can I say this, sucking on each other.
Yeah, I mean, my boyfriend and I did the first couple of stuff a little bit.
Or touching each other.
Yeah.
I just when I was your age, we didn't. You couldn't tell people that you were gay or that you had a crush on a boy or something like that. You had to be pretty straight.
Yeah. I mean,
It would have been fun to do. And the other thing that surprised me about you is when I asked you about masturbating.
Yeah.
Most of the. What's that?
Oh, no, I just said yeah. No, go on.
Yeah, it's just most of the ones, well, like Glenn, the one I'm telling you about up in Montana. I mean, he does it sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Most of the kids.
I don't know if I'm weird or not.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm weird or not for not doing it that often. I don't.
You said about once a week.
Yeah.
That's you do it makes you feel good, but you don't have to try to take you over.
Wait, how many different people are you talking to?
Well, I talked to Glenn. I say talk. We chat like you and me have done before.
Is he the Montana guy?
What's that?
Is he the Montana boy? Glenn?
Yeah, he's Montana. He's just turned 13.
Okay.
And then I have a kid named Rowan out in California. Talked to him quite a bit, and then you got a hold of Piper.
Piper, yeah. I felt a little bit weird about messaging a random person because I don't know him and he doesn't know me, but I looked at his account. How old is Rowan?
He's 15.
Okay.
Rowan's 14.
Oh, okay. And then Piper is 15.
15.
I called his local police and got no response because he lives in a small town with very few big cities surrounding the area. But I knew where he lived, I knew his full name, and I knew that he had admitted that he looked at CP and was in active communication with a 15-year-old boy who put CP on the internet. At this point, I had run out of credits for my fake number, and I didn't want to buy any more credits since I believed I would be nuking my account soon. So I asked him if we could contain our conversation to Instagram.
Yeah, I'm awake.
Okay, super. I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure, what is it?
How'd you get such a nice voice?
Practice, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to last long because at some point it's going to drop and then I'm going to have to figure out how to sing all over again.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like your voice is changing when you're singing.
Well, it's deciding whether it wants to change or not, I guess. At some point. Sometimes
puberty, huh?
Something like that. I mean, sometimes when I'm talking, and actually, okay, it's worse when I'm talking in class and my voice just suddenly cracks for no reason at all.
That's the way it goes. In fact, I was thinking when we talked last time, your voice just seemed a little bit higher than it does even now.
This predator rents out inflatables to elementary schools and middle schools, and we talked about that for a bit.
So you actually had to put them away before, huh?
So yeah, kind of. I mean, I didn't go as far as to put them back in a box or anything, but I did help fold it up. I've helped fold bounce castles before.
So when you come up to work, you know what you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was 13 when he started.
How tall is he?
Well, now when he started out, he was about 5'4", 5'5".
Mm-hmm.
He's 5'10" now.
Oh wow.
And weighs 150, so he's a pretty big kid.
Oh wow. Do you also like text him as well?
You mean outside of work?
I guess yeah.
No, I have a working relationship with him. That's sort of, I want to keep it that way.
Okay. Okay.
And in wintertime, I probably will, do something in the wintertime. I think I told you about Piper, didn't I?
Yeah, him. Yeah, what about him?
Well, he wants me to go over and visit him. He lives in Norway.
You're gonna go visit Piper in Norway?
Well, I'd like to go overseas. I'd like to take a trip to Europe.
Oh, that's crazy. I guess that makes sense. Have you ever been to Norway before or to Europe?
I've never been overseas before.
Wow.
I don't even. I've got to apply for a passport. I've never had a passport. So.
You never had a passport? I mean, even I have a passport.
Well, excuse me. I knew you had one because you're going to Quebec, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I've never had a passport. I've never needed one because I've never had a reason to go out of the United States. But, because I've always been working.
I mean, well, so I don't know much about Piper Clay because I don't really message random people. But have you like seen what he looks like to make sure he's a real person?
You want to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I've seen more Piper than you probably want to see.
I mean, well, like I saw his pictures, but like, have you seen his face? Have you talked to him?
Oh yeah, I've talked to him, and he's I've seen a photo of him. He's a very nice looking young man.
But like his face?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you?
Yeah. Don't you think he's got a nice looking face?
He doesn't show his face in his posts.
Oh, well, that's because you mean on the. Is that Quora or Instagram, whatever that is?
On Quora, yeah.
Yeah, he shows everything but his face.
Yeah, exactly. What about like have you called him on the phone or anything?
I did once, and my phone bill was just ridiculous. But then I called. I got T-Mobile, and so I said, how much for international calls, and they said I could do it for $15 a month. So I put international calls on my phone, but I text him, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've had an account there once before, but like I've only had my account maybe 3 weeks, and I have almost 300 followers. It's absolutely insane.
Isn't that something?
It's cool. It's a little scary, but it is cool.
Well, it's cool, but sometimes I got banned from there once.
Oh no, why?
And I never could figure out what the reason was. I didn't say anything, and I don't post any pictures at all.
Okay.
But I never say anything negative. But all of a sudden I just woke up one day and I was banned from Quora.
I mean, I've heard sometimes kids report when like older people talk to them. Were you talking to kids?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
No, I mean sometimes I make a comment to somebody just being supportive or whatever. I mean just like with you, but I've never said anything sexual or anything like that with anybody.
Yeah.
So I was sort of stunned when it happened.
Yeah, I don't know why your account got banned. That's kind of weird.
And somebody like Piper, I mean, I can't believe what he's put on there, and he still hasn't been banned.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because he's in Norway, and maybe in different countries the moderation is different. I don't really know how it works, but yeah, that is kind of surprising because if he really is 14 or 15, then technically those photos are illegal. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kids. That's minors.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it just floors me that they don't, do anything. Of course, we text on Instagram too. So if he does get banned, I guess, then I can still communicate with him. But it just floors me that some people show stuff like that. And of course, he enjoys it. I guess he likes the attention.
I guess. I mean, you did introduce me to his account, and you did tell me he had a nice body.
Oh, doesn't he?
I mean, yeah, but like, you're old.
Huh?
I was like, I said, yeah, he does, but like, you're old, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy, communicating with him. He's fun to talk to.
That's nice.
And there's another boy I'd probably like you to talk to sometime. He's sort of like you. He's 13 too.
Yeah.
He told me about this kid already. This is the 13-year-old Montana boy. I haven't volunteered any gratuitous sexual information to them, but he has told me that other boys my age enjoy talking about sexual things, and my guess is that he coerced sexual information out of them too, by trying to get them comfortable with discussing sexual things with him, and getting them to be comfortable sharing personal embarrassing things, such as one boy maybe being bisexual but not being able to tell anybody. Also, by potentially trying to get me to be friends with the two boys he's talking to, he can maybe build an army of supporters should he start getting accusations that he's a predator. Not buying it. Now he talks about how people on Quora try to sell him CP, when he responds, "Why would I buy it when I can just look at it here for free?"
Yeah, what kills me is, I might be talking above you, but I'll tell you anyway. The guys that get on there and they want you to buy what they're selling.
Oh yeah. I don't get that, but I've heard of that.
Well, I don't get it, and I've had them talk to me about it. I say, why would I want to pay you for something when I can get on Quora and see everything? Why do I want to pay for it?
Wait, what kind of stuff do people sell you?
Well, they show everything. Can I tell you? You won't feel bad.
No, I'm not gonna feel bad.
Okay, the naked stuff I understand. That's just, I don't know, guys being guys, I guess. But they show doing things, like anal and oral and stuff like that.
Like who's selling you this stuff? Like random bots or teenagers or what?
Mostly teenagers, and they want money for it.
I think I saw something like that. There were a couple mega files that were like, you can buy mega files of stuff, and
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. You can find anything on the internet anymore. Why would you want to pay somebody for it?
Yeah.
Like I say, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like Glenn. I don't know. Have you traded with many guys?
Not really. Like sort of, not full stuff. Usually, maybe a couple times.
When you say trade, what are you trading? Dick pics?
Yeah, like that or shirtless or whatever. I've done that a couple times.
Okay, well and see Glenn, now I lost my train of thought again with Glenn. He used to tell me, there's no way. And then he texted me one time and said, I did it. I said, you did what? He said, I traded with somebody.
Yeah, sometimes you just be stupid.
Well, you got hormones going. You're, at that age where...
Yeah, and they make you stupid.
You're not stupid, are you?
No, only when...
Sometimes.
Only when hormones, then I'm stupid.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to ask you about, because when I talked to you last week, your voice was so high.
Yeah.
And I'd mentioned to you before about jerking off, and you said maybe once a week.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, have you even started puberty yet?
Maybe. In some ways, I guess I have probably started. Okay,
well, so you're just starting out.
Yeah.
And that's what Glenn was when he first started talking to me. When he would come, it was just clearer.
Yeah.
And it's called pre-cum.
Yeah.
And it took now he's sort of excited now because he's finally, I guess, reaching to the point where he's actually has creamy ejaculations. So.
Oh yeah.
He's sort of excited about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I thought about you. I thought, well, I asked you about how often you did jerk off, and you said maybe once a week, and I thought, Glenn was doing it every day.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you're not in that stage, you probably don't enjoy it.
Yeah, that's why I only do it once a week. The past few days, it's been every day, but I don't know. This is a bit unusual for me.
I had a number of predators say that I wasn't as fun to talk to as other boys because I wasn't sexual enough, so I figured I might need to uptick my game, and that could have also been them trying to manipulate me into being more sexual.
Okay, so it's getting more often for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, and that's normal. I mean, and it's not a bad thing. Again, I told Glenn when he first started texting me about that, he was just starting to do it.
Yeah.
And he asked me how, if that's okay. And I said, well, if you do it too often, by the time you're 14, it's going to fall off. and he thought I was serious.
I have 2 calls from this predator that both last around 30 to 40 minutes. His local police, again, did not get in contact with me, and eventually I just stopped talking to him because I made the report. Making reports on these predators is extremely important, whether it's to the police or the FBI or the National Association for Missing Children. Even if a human voice doesn't talk to you about it, it at least puts a record of them into the system. Also, report it to Quora or whatever site you're using. I noticed on Quora that communities were popping up by the children to report predators that they were talking to, but it's just not enough, and children shouldn't do that. They shouldn't try to clean up their own space on Quora. They just need to get away from predators, because the predators vastly outnumber them. The following predators are likely just going to get creepier and creepier. I get really annoyed when people try to justify these predators by insisting that they didn't do anything wrong because they were talking to a 20-year-old woman. First of all, anyone who has sympathy for a grown man who wants to know the color of a teenage boy's semen should probably go and watch this themselves. Second of all, it's more the principle of the matter than the actuality of it. They believe they're talking to a 13-year-old boy. Would you ask a 20-year-old woman if her voice is cracking due to puberty and if the texture of her semen has changed? Third of all of these predators are speaking to actual little boys. Pretty much all of them are talking to multiple little boys at once, and they're admitting that to me. And these little boys are not going to report the predator for a number of reasons. They might not want to get caught by their parents for talking to a grown man on the internet. They might get dopamine hits from this older man complimenting them, and they might not want to report him for those reasons. 3, they might feel guilty themselves and that they're somehow responsible for getting groomed by older men. Number 4, they might be scared. They might think people won't listen to them. They might feel like they're going to get mocked. These children are not going to protect themselves. That's why adults need to go undercover to confront these predators, to catch them in the act of grooming a minor and admitting to grooming other minors. That's what I do. I am not initiating any of this. Listen to this man. He's the one initiating all these inappropriate conversations. He's the one giving me unsolicited information about a number of other teenagers. And you will find this moving forward, that the men I talk to other little boys and are more than happy to tell me all about it and just admit everything to me as an innocent little boy myself.